Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast, as we preview week number 15, or 16, 16. So just three more left here. It's the Eagles, of course, at Philly, then home versus the Rams, home versus the Eagles to close out the year. The Giants are 5-9. Their chances of the playoffs are pretty much non-existent. It's like less than 1%, so I'm not counting on that. Right now, the Giants are 13.5-point underdogs in Philadelphia. I don't think the Giants have won there since like 2013. I think that was the Vince Young game. So, been a very long time. Of course, part of me would love to end that streak, but part of me also wants the better draft pick, and the Giants are right around that top 5 area. There's a couple matchups this week that are pretty important for the tank. We have, I think, the Commanders versus is it Commanders Jets? I'm pretty sure it is. Then we have the Bears and Cardinals. So a couple of matchups there that can really change the draft position coming up here for April. So we'll find out what happens in those games. But of course, we'll go over the injuries, preview the game a bit. Then we'll do the week number 16 spread picks. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like and let's get into it. Let's get started with the injuries. Luckily, the Giants updated their website like 9 minutes ago, so we get some updated ins and outs. But right now, for the guys that are out, we have Evan Neal and Raheem Nunez-Roches. Apparently, Nacho had this knee injury. He was limping around, so he's not going to play. Evan Neal misses his, like 7 straight games? Like, it's crazy. And as I always say, I wanted to see him play and get these reps, but it seems like at this point, I'd be surprised if he comes back. This ankle injury must be bad. So, as for Dexter Lawrence and A'Shawn Robinson, they seem like really questionable, but I think Brian Daboll said he's hopeful that they're back for the game on Monday. And I forgot to mention the game's on Monday, Christmas Day, 4:30, I believe. So, probably not what you want to see on Christmas as a Giants fan, but unfortunately, that's what we got. So anyway, Dexter Lawrence, A'Shawn Robinson, hopeful to play. We'll see about them. Guys like Gary Brightwell, Lawrence Cager are questionable. Doesn't really matter to me. The Eagles don't have too many important ones right now. Their game status has not been updated yet, so I don't know who's in and out. But Devontae Smith did not practice on Friday. That's a big one. Neither did Darius Slay. Landon Dickerson didn't practice Friday. Zach Cunningham. I feel like the Eagles always get these washed up linebackers, like these just really veteran old linebackers. Like, didn't the Eagles sign Myles Jack too? Like, they had Myles Jack, Zach Cunningham, Shaquille Leonard, of course, from the Colts, and it's like that's just what they do. They just, they lost, of course, TJ Edwards to the Bears in the offseason, so they're trying everything they can here. But anyway, Avonte Maddox was a full practice. He should be good to go. Cam Jurgens, full practice. He should be good. So it seems like the Eagles are not that injured. Of course, it depends about Devontae Smith, Darius Slay, Landon Dickerson. But if those guys play, they should be all right. But anyway, Jalen Hurts has been battling this knee injury the entire year. He has been running a lot more lately, so I would like to believe that he is not as injured as he once was, but it felt like at one point there was an actual concern with that knee. There was that one game. It might have been, I forget which week it was now, but there was a week where, he really looked like he was limping badly. It might have been the home game versus the Cowboys. I think it was week 9, right? Yeah, week 9 versus the Cowboys. I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts had that leg rolled up on and his knee was probably hurting pretty badly, but he came back in the game. So I don't think Hurts has missed time this year. I don't remember seeing Marcus Mariota play. He might have played a few snaps, but it seems like Jalen Hurts should be fine. For the Eagles on the season, we'll go to their season stats. They're having a, quote-unquote down season. They've lost 3 straight games now, which is concerning. But, they started off the year 10-1, and people were calling them out as a fraudulent 10-1 team. Now, some of that can be like, oh, it's just Giants fans hating on the Eagles, which definitely happens, of course. But there is some truth to that. I think there is some truth to the Eagles, being a bit of a fraudulent 10-1 team at one point. But it seems like that has balanced out here as they've lost 3 straight games. 2 of those was the Niners and Cowboys, which makes sense, but then of course they lost on Monday night to Drew Lock and the Seattle Seahawks, and James Bradbury had a very rough final drive on that. I'm sure you guys have seen that by now. But anyway, Eagles offense, 7th in points on offense, 9th in total yards, 21st in turnovers, so they're turning the ball over a bit too much for their liking. They are 21st in passing attempts. They're 16th in passing yards. They are 5th in rushing attempts, which is funny because you have Eagles fans always yelling about, we got to run the ball, got to run the ball. I'm sure a lot of that includes the brotherly shove, and, that does count as a rushing attempt technically. But the Eagles are also 8th in rushing yards. They're 5th in rushing touchdowns, which I'm sure that, brotherly shove definitely helps with that. But they are 13th in yards per attempt, so they're not the most efficient running team. But of course, those brotherly shove plays, they're usually for 1 or 2 yards, so that'll bring down your yards per carry. So there's a lot that goes into it. The Eagles defense, which has been a big disappointment this year. Jonathan Gannon, their defensive coordinator last year, is now coaching the Cardinals. So their defense has dropped off. They lost pieces, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mentioned TJ Edwards, they lost pieces. So right now, their defense is 26th in points allowed, 22nd in yards, 24th in turnovers forced. They are 28th in yards allowed via the pass, but they are 7th against the run, so that's pretty good. Of course, they have a great defensive line, a lot of veterans, some young studs, of course, but that pass defense has been not so good. But the Giants are not the type of team to pass all over you. That's not their MO, so I don't really see that really being a big issue here for Philly. I know the spread is humongous for this game, and, I might take the Giants, but I kind of feel like taking the Eagles because it really does feel like a get-right game. Philly has lost 3 straight. I think a lot of us thought that Monday at Seattle would be their get-right game, but of course they lost that one 2017. So I'm thinking this is the game they get things right? The Giants just don't play well in Philly. The Eagles have owned the Giants for years, and the Giants have some backups playing. They're down to their 3rd-string quarterback, and there seemed to be a reality check there last week versus the Saints when DeVito was not very effective at all, and the offense was horrible. So, can Tommy DeVito take advantage and pass all over this Eagles secondary that has struggled the entire year? That's the big question. So the Giants defense, I'm sure they'll start out the game pretty well, but eventually they'll probably break down because the Giants offense will probably do nothing. So looking at some of these matchups here, it seems like the Eagles, they might have to rely on Kelee Ringo, the rookie out of Georgia. He was their 4th-round pick this year, so he might have to play some corner if Darius Slay misses. James Bradbury, who is probably having the worst year of his career, I would have to think. He had a nice career in Carolina, played well for the Giants, of course, had one really good year with the Giants, but he's probably had his worst year, but he'll probably be across from former teammate Darius Slayton a lot. So Wan'Dale Robinson against Bradley Roby. Roby's been around forever. He's 31 now. So, I would like to think Wan'Dale can win that matchup more times than not. The Giants' offensive line's a massive concern in this game. You have guys like Jalen Carter going up against John Michael Schmitz and Justin Pugh, and that's probably not going to go well. Hate to be that guy, but Hassan Reddick's taken a step back this year. It's almost said Montez Sweat. Josh Sweat, of course, has played well for Philly for a few years now. He'll be against Andrew Thomas a lot. So I have a lot of concerns about the line in this game. The Eagles have definitely not had as many sacks as they usually do, and they should have a lot more with this type of personnel. But it feels like with the combination of how long DeVito holds the ball and how talented this Eagles pass rush is, it feels like a recipe for disaster. So if the Eagles were to have 7 or 8 sacks and force a couple fumbles on DeVito, it's not going to shock me. So we'll see what happens in the game, obviously, but that's just not going to bode well probably for the Giants. If I'm them, I'm focused on getting the ball out early. I'm not going to do these, have these plays where DeVito's back there and scanning the field and going through progressions, because it's probably not going to go well. Just do simple shit that he did last year where We saw it last year with Jones, how you roll out the quarterback and check down to the tight end or just run. We know DeVito can run, so I would do that type of stuff. So we'll see what the game plan is there from Mike Kafka. So far, Shaq Leonard has not played so well for Philly. He hasn't played that much, but his snaps are increasing every week, it seems like. Here, I think he played 16 snaps in his first game with the Eagles. Then he played more last week, whatever 16 plus 12 is. Not good at math. 28. Played 28 snaps last week. So it seems like he's getting more acclimated, but he's definitely not the same player he used to be, which is a shame because I think he had that neck injury or something. So sucks for him. But anyway, for the Giants defense in this game, looking at Philly's offense, going to be a big task for the corners, obviously. You have A.J. Brown, who the first half of the year was on a historic pace. He's kind of slowed down a bit, but he's still having a great year overall. Brown's probably going to be on Deonte Banks, hopefully a good amount. You would think Deonte Banks, more of a physical corner, can hopefully deal with A.J. Brown better than Adoree Jackson can. But Devontae Smith, having a bit of a down year for his standards. I feel like he's very consistently getting 50, 60 yards a week. He might have a 100-yard game here and there, but Devontae Smith, for the most part, has not had his usual season. They're still lacking at wide receiver 3, which was my biggest concern with the Eagles, besides losing their coordinators coming into the year. But Quez Watkins at wide receiver 3, they have that Zacchaeus dude who was from the Falcons in the past. So they have some decent pass catchers, but really Smith and Brown's all you're worried about. And then, of course, you have Dallas Goedert, who's coming back from that broken arm. He played last week and I think was playing limited snaps. So, he doesn't look... I think he was back for 2 games, actually. I think he played in week 14 and week 15, but he's not been playing the same amount of snaps. He definitely is still not 100% from that fractured forearm or whatever it was. So the Eagles' run game has not been hasn't been great. I mentioned that they're running the ball a lot, but a lot of that is Jalen Hurts quarterback sneaks. So DeAndre Swift got off to a great start this year. He's been slowing down a lot lately, and I feel like Swift is kind of he's not that big of a back. He's listed at 215, but when you watch him, he doesn't look that big. He's 5'9", 215. But, I feel like their run game is really lacking right now. I don't know why the Eagles don't give Rashad Penny a shot. I really don't think he's that bad. Rashad Penny, I'm going to look him up real quick. I think Rashad Penny has one of the highest yards per attempt ever in the NFL. The problem with him is he's always hurt, but Rashad Penny in his career has 342 carries for just under 2,000 yards. That's 5.7 yards per carry and 13 touchdowns. The guy, when he plays, Rashad Penny has been amazing. But for some reason with the Eagles this year, he's only been active for 2 games. And they're struggling to run between the tackles. You have a really good offensive line. I personally don't understand why they wouldn't play him. He led the NFL in yards per carry in 2021. In 2022, he had 6.1 yards per carry. The guy is a very good player, and I don't know why they even signed him just not to use him. He's 27 years old, so, for a guy who has not been used that much, he's pretty much still in his prime for a running back, but I feel bad. He should be playing more. Of course, his brother was a Giant for a few years, Elijah Penny, but I feel bad for him. You're struggling running the ball between the tackles, and you have a guy on your roster that can do it. I just don't know why they're not doing it. Personally, I don't care because I don't want the Eagles to win anyway. But whatever. So they also have Kenneth Gainwell behind Swift. They have our friend Boston Scott, who I think is going to score a touchdown. I'll probably place a bet on that. I can tell Nick Sirianni's the type of guy who will play into that and try and get Boston Scott a touchdown in this game. They did that in the playoffs last year, so if they did it in the playoffs, then why wouldn't they do it in a week 16 game? So I'm assuming Boston Scott will score a touchdown, assuming the game gets out of hand, which I think it might have a chance of doing so. The Giants secondary, it's been okay this year, but last week we saw some bad moments, obviously, but there was no Chris Olave. I think was Rashid Shaheed out. I forget. I think he might have played, but yeah, Michael Thomas was out. The Saints had guys missing, and the Giants were just struggling in the secondary. We saw Jawan Johnson get loose for that touchdown. We saw freaking what's his name, Jimmy Graham score a touchdown. Just crazy stuff like that. So we made Derek Carr look amazing. Let's be honest, Derek Carr should not be throwing all over you like that. That's just unacceptable. But I think for the talent they have or lack thereof, the Giants defense has done a pretty nice job overall. But Getting pressure on the quarterback definitely going to be a big thing in this game. Dexter Lawrence is probably not 100% obviously, but you have guys like Kayvon and Ojulari who can hopefully get to the quarterback a good amount, and hopefully A'Shawn Robinson plays. But against this offensive line with Mailata, Kelsey's playing at a ridiculous level still. Lane Johnson, Jurgens, like they have really good offensive linemen here, obviously. Now, the thing to watch out for, and I've noticed this the past couple of weeks, is that when the Eagles are doing this brotherly shove play, Jason Kelsey has apparently been moving the ball forward. Like, when the center gets the ball and, they like kind of place the ball on the ground, it seems like Kelsey was moving the ball forward, and refs are kind of picking up on that now. So I think he's been called for a couple of false starts. He was on Monday, so definitely watch out for that. That could be a reason why the brotherly shove has been so effective, is maybe because Jason Kelsey has been moving the ball forward and the refs have not been picking up on it. So we'll see what happens if that comes up in the game. As for Jalen Hurts, not his best season, but as I mentioned, I think he's playing a bit injured. Guy has like a bunch of rushing touchdowns. I don't know what the number is exactly. I'll look it up real quickly, but Jalen Hurts definitely has a ton of rushing touchdowns this year. Has 12 interceptions, which is kind of a lot for him, and I feel like it should be less than that, but I think overall the guy's had a pretty decent year. So passing the ball, he has 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 65 completion percentage. Rushing the ball, let's see, where the hell are the rushing stats here? Passing stats, game log, why can't I find this? Advanced passing, I don't care. Rushing, here we go. So he has 14 rushing touchdowns this year. I mean, he has a chance to have like 17, 18 rushing touchdowns. I don't know what the record for a quarterback is. It might still be Cam Newton from that one year, his rookie year maybe, but I don't know. But still, I feel like for a quarterback to have that many rushing touchdowns is pretty insane. So we'll see if he can continue on that or not. But I feel like the Eagles always get down to the one. They just feel like that team that always gets down to the one. I know Devontae Smith got down to the one a few times. I had him in fantasy for a lot this year, so we got down at the one a few times. And DeAndre Swift got down at the one last week as well. So like just stuff like that always seems to happen. But the Giants defense, they have 3 or 4 guys playing really well. Bobby Okereke, Xavier McKinney in a contract year, Dexter Lawrence, obviously. Jason Pinnock had his moments, but the rest of this defense has not really been playing that well. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau's had a really good year, like statistics-wise. I believe he has 12.5 sacks this year, but he just has too many games where he goes missing, and last week was a good example of that. So we'll see if he can play a full game here. But yeah, I'm not expecting too much in this game. I know the Eagles, defense has not been great this year. They've been horrible on third down. They're not sacking the quarterback, but DeVito's the type of quarterback to hold on to the ball too long. I think the Saints had like 7 sacks against us last week, so there's some weird vibes with the Eagles right now. Apparently some players are not happy, obviously, and it makes sense. You're on a losing streak, but the Giants feel like a get-right game. I mean, right now, the Eagles finish out the year with the Giants, the Cardinals, and then the Giants again. So I feel like if you're Philly, you should end the season going 13-4. There's no excuse. So if you finish out the year 13-4, you play some tune-up games here, you get your confidence back up against some bad football teams, it's probably going to go well for them. So I know losing to Seattle sucks for them, and it is what it is, and they're playing for a playoff spot and trying to get the best playoff seed possible. And I'm going to take a look right now at what the playoff picture is, because I do believe the Eagles are still in play for the 1 seed, but I believe the Niners have that right now. So you have the Niners at 11-3, you have the Cowboys and Eagles at 10-4, but technically the Cowboys are in first place in the NFC East. They must have a better divisional record. I do believe the Cowboys and Eagles split this year, but I think the Cowboys have a better divisional record. So if the Eagles start winning these games versus the Giants, they'll probably get their division record back up. So we'll see how the seeding plays out, but these games are definitely still important for Philly. But I'll make a score prediction. Why not? I will say, man, how bad do I want this to be? I mean, I'll probably say like 34-16. 34-16 is my final score prediction. Would that cover the spread, 34-16? I think it would, right? That's a lot of points. Maybe not. What's 34 minus 16? All right, so that'd be 18. So I would think, you're going to cover the spread at that point if you're Philly. So yeah, I think 34-16, something like that. Probably not going to be a fun game to watch, but we are used to it. Just 3 more of these. It's all we have to go through is 3 more. looking ahead, the Giants are 6.5-point dogs against the Rams next week. They played on Thursday. They looked very good. They did let the Saints come back late in that game, but still they were dominant for most of that game. So the Giants have a good chance of going 5 and what is it? So yeah, they'll probably be 5-12 by the time the year's over, which is it's a big disappointment. But a lot of things went wrong this year with injuries, and the Giants just picked the wrong path to go on. And trying to compete again this year, which is probably the wrong move. So hopefully they learn from their mistakes and get this right in the offseason. But, definitely a lot of time to talk about the big picture stuff in the offseason. So anyway, let's get into the week number 16 spread picks. All right, so last week wasn't the best. Went 5-8-1, but I luckily had some cushion from the amazing week the week prior. So now I'm 102, 96-8 on the season. So I'll still take it. But anyway, first game here on Saturday starts in a couple hours here. The Bengals at the Steelers. Steelers +3. I'm picking the Steelers. I think this is the game they finally get it right. I know it's Mason Rudolph. They finally benched Mitch Trubisky, which probably is the right move. But I just think the Steelers are the kind of team where they just find ways to win. I just think Mike Tomlin has proven himself enough, and there is no Jamar Chase for the Bengals. That's a massive missed weapon. I know they were just chucking the ball up to T. Higgins last week and it worked, but I feel like the Eagles should be ready for that. And Jake Browning, I don't think is like the next Joe Burrow, so I'm thinking that they're going to lose a game at some point, and it could be here. The Steelers are home too, so I do like that. So Steelers +3 for me in the first one. This one here, probably going to be a blowout, but we have the Buffalo Bills at the Chargers. Chargers +12.5. Man, Buffalo's looked great lately. I'm going to take the Bills. I mean, we saw the Chargers play on Thursday. I know they got rid of their head coach, Brandon Staley, and it's about damn time. But there was just nothing about that team that showed me that they're going to be a good team without Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert should win MVP just based on what we saw on Thursday. That was embarrassing. I don't know how many defensive touchdowns the Raiders had. It felt like 2 or 3. Easton Stick was horrible. And one of the touchdowns they had was on a broken play where Joshua Palmer was just left wide open on a miscommunication. So, the Chargers really did nothing, whether it was on the ground or through the air. There's a lot of turnovers. The Bills defense, yes, they're injured, but they're still good. They're playing well. So I'm taking the Bills here -12.5. The Cleveland Browns, they are playing tomorrow. They're at the Houston Texans. There is no CJ Stroud once again, so there's going to be Davis Mills or Case Keenum. I think it's Keenum once again. So I'm going to take the Browns -3. I felt like the spread should have been a bit more in Cleveland's favor, but I guess I understand it. Houston has been a good team this year, but they're missing so many guys on offense right now. You take Stroud away from that team. And yeah, the Texans probably should have won last week, but they were playing the Titans, and the Browns are a better team right now than the Titans. So I will just take the Browns here -3 on the road and trust that defense and trust Flacco. Detroit Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 3-point dogs at home. Interesting one here. I think I'll take Detroit -3. I feel like they want us to do that, so I feel a bit worried about that one. But I don't know. Minnesota, they did play on an island game last week, and I watched that whole game, and Nick Mullins wasn't too bad, but I don't know. I just feel like you get Jared Goff indoors in Minnesota now. I think that the Lions offense can keep it going. I don't think Nick Mullins is going to throw for 300 yards against the Lions defense, although they are struggling. So I don't know. I'll just take the better team here. It's only 3 points, so give me the Lions here. Green Bay Packers at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are 4-point underdogs. The Packers have dropped 2 straight embarrassing losses here. I mean, of course, they lost to the Giants, which should have never happened. And then they lost by 2 touchdowns to the Buccaneers, and Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating in Lambeau. So I think I'll take Green Bay here as a -4 to get back on track. Carolina, at least they won last week, but I just don't see that team winning back-to-back games. So I think Green Bay should get it right. So I'll just take the Packers here as a -4. The Indianapolis Colts at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons favored by 2. Oof. I just can't find it in me to take the Falcons anymore. I just can't do it. I did it last week, and I told myself if they blow this one again versus the Panthers, which they lost that game, I told myself I just can't pick them anymore. So I'm just going to blindly take the Colts here as a +2. And you can make the argument that the Colts are the better team. They have a better coach. They might have a better team. So I know that the Falcons have the fancy offensive weapons of Bijan, Pitts, and London, but they don't know how to use them, right? It's like giving the keys to a Ferrari to a 12-year-old. Like they just don't know how to use it. So, and Arthur Smith in that equation is the 12-year-old. So yeah, I'm not taking the Falcons. I just can't do it. So Colts +2 for me. Seattle at Tennessee. Tennessee 3.5-point dogs. Seattle is gonna get Geno Smith back. So it's a tough one. I think I'll take Seattle. I don't love it because this game kind of feels like it'll be close for no reason, but I will take Seattle -3.5, but I would not be shocked if they get me by half a point because I could see Seattle winning this game by only 3. So we'll see. It's risky, but I'll take Seattle. Washington Commanders at the Jets. Pretty important game here for the Tank. I don't know who to root for because I guess we'll root for Washington, right? I mean, because I know Washington has 4 wins right now. We have 5, but I don't know. I feel like either way, the Giants benefit from it. So anyway, Jets -3 at home. I think it's tough. I think I will take. I'll take the Jets. I don't want to do it, but I'll take the Jets. Jets -3. Very hesitant to do so, but I think the Washington defense is so bad right now. Zach Wilson, I believe, is out with the concussion, so it is Trevor Siemian. But as I said, the Commanders' defense, since those trades of Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they've been so bad on defense. I think the Jets' offense can actually do stuff in this game. I know they got shut out last week, but still. So I will take the Jets here -3. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Interesting matchup here. Tampa Bay +1.5 at home here. I like Tampa, man. I think I'll take Tampa Bay. Tampa +1.5 here. They're probably alive to win this game. I know that Trevor Lawrence is really questionable to play, but based on this line, I would think they expect Lawrence to play, so we'll see if he does or not. But Tampa Bay they looked really good this year. Like Baker Mayfield has regained that confidence that he once had back in that 2020 season. He's playing great football. Tampa's getting healthy, so yeah, I'll take Tampa take Tampa +1.5, not minus. The Cardinals at the Chicago Bears. Who do we root for here? I think we root for the Bears, right? Because the Bears also have 5 wins. The Cardinals are a candidate to trade out of that pick. So I think I'll just take the Bears. You know what? I want to root for the Bears. So I'll take the Bears -4. They're the better team right now. I've liked the way they've looked recently. They should have won last week. There was that horrible Hail Mary drop by Darnell Mooney. So that was bad for them. But I will take Chicago -4 here. Interesting game here. Dallas at Miami. Now, neither team, I feel like Miami has not beaten that great of a team this year, and Dallas kind of has that same thing, aside from beating Philly a couple weeks back. So, 2 teams that have questions about can they beat elite teams now going against each other. So, the Dolphins are 1-point favorites at home. This is a interesting one. I think I'll take Miami -1. I don't love it, but I think in a matchup like this, I'm just going to side with the home team. And, Dallas's defense, it got torn up last week. Like, we saw what James Cook did to that team. You're telling me Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane can't do the same thing? I think Miami's offense will be fine in this game. They've protected Tua well enough, and Tua gets the ball out quickly. So I don't think that the Cowboys' pass rush should ruin this game for them. So I will take Miami -1. Patriots at the Broncos. Broncos -7. This game feels like it'll be close for no reason, but I don't know, because I know that Denver had that disappointing loss last week. They got blown out in Detroit. The Patriots kept that game close versus the Chiefs for a while. I mean, the Chiefs still covered, but still. I think I'll just take New England -7. Why not? I think they've looked competent the past few weeks, so they beat the Steelers a couple weeks back. They were in that game versus the Chiefs in the late third quarter last week. So you know what? I'll just take the Patriots +7 there. The Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs -10. Interesting one here. So the Raiders coming off that massive victory, scoring 63 points on Thursday. Extra rest. The Chiefs have not looked good this year. Well, I mean, look, they've looked fine, like, based on the NFL, but based on their own standards, it has not been that great of a year for them. So, man, it's a close one as well for me. I don't know. I think I'll just take the Chiefs. Like, I don't love taking them in big spreads this year because they're just not doing it enough, but something tells me that the Raiders' offense is really going to come crashing back down to earth here, so I will just take the Chiefs here. They probably won't score a ton of points, but I don't see the Raiders scoring a lot either, so I'm hoping that they can keep them under like 10 or 13 points and that the Chiefs' offense can do enough. Super Bowl preview possibly here. This is this the Sunday nighter, I guess, right? No, Christmas Day nighter. Interesting. All right, so Christmas Day night game. They're giving us the Baltimore Ravens at the San Francisco 49ers. If I had to pick today, this might be the Super Bowl preview. So this is a great matchup. They are giving the Niners a 5.5-point favorite here. So a lot of points. I feel inclined to take Baltimore. I've heard Lamar Jackson's spread when he's an underdog, and it's a very good spread record for Lamar Jackson. So, 5.5 points is a good amount. I think Baltimore can win this game if things break right. So I'll just take Baltimore plus 5.5. Would it shock me if the Niners went out there and killed them? No, because they are the best team in football. But it feels a little disrespectful to be, 5.5-point dogs for a team like Baltimore. So I'll take them. All right, so this game was on Thursday. And finally, the Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles minus 13.5, and for me, I'm going to take Philadelphia. The line keeps moving in their direction. I don't feel good about that. And yeah, I mean, the Giants have injuries. The Eagles are just looking for a game to get right. They've looked bad the past few weeks. This should be the game where they get everything going. They always kill the Giants. Everything adds up. So I will just take Philly minus 13.5. So that's going to do it for the spread picks. That'll do it for the video. Hope you all enjoyed. We will react to what is most likely an ass-kicking on Christmas night. For those who celebrate, Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays. Stay safe. And I will talk to you guys next time.